People around the world are moving like never before, and not because they want to. The proof and the staggering scale of that movement comes from the UN's Refugee Agency. For some perspective, in 2000, the worrying number was 21 million people. Now it's nearly 71 million. All people displaced by war, persecution, or lack of human rights at home. So where are they going? More than half don't go far at all. They are internally displaced, as in Ethiopia. 1.5 million people in 2018 moved inside its own borders. As for those who leave their countries, of the millions who left Syria in the past 5 years, most are now in Turkey or Lebanon. Myanmar's persecuted Rohingya are still moving into Bangladesh. South Sudan's crises have pushed people in 3 directions, into Sudan, Ethiopia, or Uganda. And then there's Venezuela. The UN estimates more than 3 million people have fled that country. We've seen how they pour into neighboring Colombia. So no, it is neither Europe nor North America bearing the brunt of this movement.
You know, when you say Europe has a refugee emergency, or the United States or Australia, no. Most of the refugees are in fact in the countries next to where the war is. And unfortunately, that means mostly in poor countries or in middle-income countries.
To that point, the number of Syrians crossing the border into Lebanon during the past 8 years, at least 1 million, with some estimates closer to 1.5 million. And as the CBC's Margaret Evans tells us, the warm, neighborly welcome is wearing off.
Along the mountains marking Lebanon's border with Syria, you'll find a valley of the weary. Syrian refugees who sought shelter here from the early days of the war that raged on the other side. Faten El-Hosni has hung her family's walls with canaries, a little ray of light in the dark. But today she's packing everything up. The Lebanese army has delivered an ultimatum: take down the walls yourself or we'll do it for you. She says they said everything should be demolished by the end of the month. El-Hosni's family fled Syria, she says, when their house in Homs was destroyed by an airstrike. The prospect of losing another is clearly overwhelming. Authorities say the dwellings violate building codes, that concrete walls more than 1 meter high are forbidden. Those living here believe there is an ulterior motive. But Khaled al-Rifai says a return to Syria is not an option. If the situation was good and safe in Syria, he says, you wouldn't find any Syrians here in Lebanon.
It's not just in these more remote areas right up along the border with Syria where the refugees are feeling under pressure to leave. Right across Lebanon, there's a sense of an erosion of hospitality.
In crowded Beirut, the whispers grow louder. Refugees accused of stealing Lebanese jobs, of driving rents up and wages down. There are nearly 1 million Syrian refugees registered in the country, but politicians say the number is higher, that Lebanon is suffocating.
Our economy is under pressure because of them, because we've been giving them power, electricity, water. All our infrastructure has been affected by their presence here.
Those charged with the protection of refugees say Lebanon deserves praise for what it has been able to offer, saying a change in tone doesn't signify a change in policy.
We are certainly also reiterating to refugees, the government has given us assurances that there will be no forced return.
But back in the Valley of the Weary, where the passage of time is speeding up, it doesn't mean they don't feel the squeeze. Mahmoud Rameh lost 2 sons to the war in Syria. Now he and his family, including a son with a broken back, sleep here, waiting to make a home again.
What if it gets worse?
If you have the power to take us to Canada and save us from what we're living here, he says, that would be great, because the situation is unacceptable. No going back and no going forward. Margaret Evans, CBC News, Arsal, Lebanon.